Welcome to Leave It on the Court. It's your boy Moustapha, and I'm here with Corey Randall, the now writer of the Blazers Edge and the Lead. Today, what we'll be speaking on is whether James Harden will be able to coexist with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. What do you think about who's the winner and the loser of this trade?
Man, I'd have to say for right now, just looking at it, I would say James Harden. Not James Harden. I would say the Nets, just because you're getting an established star, superstar, generational player who's still in his prime, and you're contending for a championship now, and he's able to play alongside, another superstar in Katie, another star in Kyrie. And they're thinking championship now. Now when it comes to long term, I would say Houston, just because we'll have to see how the drafts pan out, but they have 4 first-round picks with 3 from the Nets and 1 from the Bucks, and then they also have 4 first-round swaps with the Nets. And then you're also getting an expiring contract of Victor Oladipo, who could, definitely be the shooting guard of the future for the team. He's only 28 years old. If not, they can try to figure out a way to trade him somewhere. I know he has been linked to Miami Heat, and maybe get like Tyler Hero or something else in return, but you can kind of play with that.
Yeah, I agree as far as the point that the obvious winner is the Nets. I never felt that Houston was ever gonna get like equitable value for James Harden. He's just too good of a player. Nobody's gonna give up their whole entire squad to get James Harden. So there's gonna have to be some kind of meeting ground in the middle, especially the fact that James Harden was pushing so hard to leave Houston. So they were left with no choice. So I knew that at the end of the day, the leverage was not all the way in their hands. However, they did get some a good amount of draft picks. They got Victor Oladipo, which we don't know if he's gonna stay there. Is left to be unknown whether they'll look to deal him before the trade deadline, or they'll just keep him for the year, look to convince him to stay or sign an extension. So that's something for us all to stay tuned to. But they got some draft picks. They have to draft well. These picks are not lottery picks, and it's something that they have to be prudent with and to come to fruition, because at the end of the day, you traded a superstar away. So you want to make at least a couple of those draft picks turn into something really good for yourself, whether that's in a trade or that's just you just drafted. Right.
Yeah, you definitely want to be able to draft well, but then you also got to see who's coming out in these drafts. I see some good young talent in college basketball so far, but then you could also use it to your advantage, kind of like how the Thunder, what do they have, like 17, 18 picks?
They got a house of draft picks. They got a roster of draft picks.
They got Arsenal picks, and then you got like the Celtics with Danny Ainge. He was smart. I mean, he drafted Tatum and Jaylen Brown and stuff, but then he's used other picks and stuff to get other guys. So just see how Rafael Stone does it. But I like what he did so far. So
yeah, definitely I feel that.
Yep.
So what is your take on their current team, their current situation right now? Do you feel that they're good as is? Now that they got James Harden, you got the Kyrie Irvings, you got the Joe Harrises, DeAndre Jordans, and whatnot. What is your take? Do you feel that they're good as they are, or do they need to add some more pieces?
I definitely think they need to get backup point guard that can shoot the ball, space the floor out, because you have Spencer Dinwiddie, who's been out, who tore his ACL. And then you have Kyrie, who, as far as Kyrie's presence, he can be kind of inconsistent in that regard, whether he gets hurt or, he's sitting out, resting or doing whatever it is. and Bruce Brown is the backup. I know they have Tyler Johnson, but I know Tyler Johnson was under the health protocols and stuff like that. But he's not really like like guard. A pure like point. Yeah, he's more like a 2 guard. And then with him, it's like they already have like Shamet and stuff like that. So I think they should look at some cheaper free agents, like going after Isaiah Thomas or Shabazz Napier. But aside, that's just for the point guard point of view, somebody who can space the floor like that, but also they need some defensive guys. Their offense is not, I'm not that worried about their offense. They're going to be able to put up points in bunches with the rest of the league, no question. But the thing is, they need to defend because, they need to get like some defensive wings, like go after Mo Harkless, who's, on Miami Heat, or try to get Trevor Ariza from the Thunder. And even, like a backup centers who can, protect the rim, give DJ some breathing room since they don't have Jared Allen. Get like Bismack Biyombo, JaVale McGee. Both of those guys are on expiring contracts. And, maybe even a guy like a Tyson Chandler who can play some minutes here and there. And he's a veteran and he can teach the team, like he provide some leadership on that end as well.
Yeah, I definitely agree. If they're going to make any adjustment, they need a leader. I wouldn't just bring... Because the thing is, you bring Mo Harkless, he's a great individual defender. He's been in the league, he got some time under his belt, but he's not going to galvanize. Like, this team needs a leader, and they need a defensive player. Because they got to have somebody that's going to hold that group accountable. That coaching staff, for some reason, they speak on defense, but there's not a bigger enough emphasis on defense. There need to be a greater emphasis on really like defense from a team perspective and then from an individual perspective. Guys have to be held accountable, whether it's, using too much of their hands, too much of the, just being able to be in their spots, play positional defense. I believe Kevin Durant, when, he's healthy right now, and when focused, he could be a really good defender. You got DeAndre Jordan, but he seems like he's a step slow. You got Jeff Green. They got some capable defenders, but I think they need that leader, that quarterback that's gonna hold guys accountable.
Yeah, and I also think just providing depth on the team too will also just help with defense as well, because like when you look at last night's game, I mean, the guys, they really played with like a 6-man rotation because you have all the starters that were playing, and then it was just like, and then Joe Harris off the bench, all these guys, playing like 40 plus minutes. And then it's like, that was it. And then when you have a team like that, if you're trying to go far, you can't have everybody playing those amount of minutes and then expect guys to be getting it done on both ends of the floor, because you're asking several of these guys to put up so many points and create all these plays offensively, but then they're supposed to turn around and turn into all world defenders as well. So it's like, you need to get some depth or create a certain defensive scheme, throw some zone in there and, do different things.
Yeah, I agree, man. Obviously, Steve Nash has looked to stagger the lineups. He's tried to use that star power that he has to his advantage, but they do need depth. They do need some depth. I think they could use a couple more shooters. I'm surprised Landry Shamet didn't play. He didn't really get much time yesterday. So that surprised me, but they do need guard help. The back, they need like a legit backup point guard. Somebody who could, hold his own, who could manage the game while Kyrie or, James Harden gets some rest. So piggybacking on to that though. So what do you think of the debut of James Harden without Kyrie and the debut last night with Kyrie, with KD, with, the whole firepower together?
Well, I think last night Harden only took something like 14 shots. So definitely with Kyrie being there, I think Harden has, taken the role of, being more of the point guard of the team. Because, he's had double-digit assists in all 3 games with the Nets he's played so far. So he's taken that role. He knows Kyrie. He's already been here before. And I feel like he was taking a step back offensively as far as scoring. for that. So I think he was taking more of a responsibility because he needed to, especially in games 1 and 2 with no Kyrie, just to help KD out. But I think obviously in the end, having a third guy like that is gonna be able to help. But I think the minutes, Steve Nash is gonna have to figure out a way, and with D'Antoni and stuff, to be able to stagger the minutes, so I wouldn't want these three guys to constantly be playing with each other, because you can give guys more room to do other things if they're kind of playing with a certain cast where they kind of have to do a bit more.
Yeah, I agree. And that comes down to depth. So I think they just need to be creative with it. I'm of the belief that you can't have. I see that right now, I don't like to nitpick because it's the first game that all three of them playing together, and that is quite an adjustment. But you got to learn where guys are gonna be on the court. You're trying to get Kyrie to get some rhythm. He hasn't played in a while. In some spurts of the game, I can see mentally Kyrie has some mental lapse where his head was not in the game. But, he's coming back from, I guess, personal reasons, whatever that is. We don't get too much into those things unless important. But, on the court, I could see, it's times where, he wasn't looking at the ball, or he didn't look like mentally I'm really, I'm on go mode. But he played pretty well. I wish the assist numbers would have been a lot higher. But he played pretty well. I would like to see him play more of the playmaking role because he can handle the ball so well. This guy, he can handle the ball so well. He shoots the ball mid-range, 3-point. He could use both sides of the court because he can finish with either hand. It's just why not take advantage of that? Get guys more easy spot up opportunities. Catch guys cutting, because it's nobody's gonna really be able to stand in front of Kyrie, and it's you can't really double him, because you double him, granted, KD and James Harden didn't have the greatest shooting nights, but you can't expect that every night. These are guys, for career shooting well over 36%, I believe. I didn't look all the way at the numbers, but I believe the other night I was seeing something that for a career, KD shoots 38% from the three, and he takes quite enough. So this guy is definitely a capable shooter. We all know that. So, but I would like to see a little bit more of Kyrie running the point, and having James Harden as a secondary, from a playmaking from a secondary standpoint, because I believe he's gonna make no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, and also just being able to get mismatches where have sides of the floor where you have KD, or not KD, Kyrie or Harden, doing a pick and pop or something with KD, have two of those guys on one side of the floor and kind of go with that and create mismatches where you have forcing guys to switch off, or doing things like that, or if they don't switch off, they're gonna have to fight through a screen, which is gonna leave KD open for a jumper, for a drive, and all that kind of stuff. But I have a question for you, though. From the first two games, and then last night's game, Joe Harris was better in the first two games. Do you think the Nets looked better with Harden and KD, and then Joe Harris as the third option? Or do you think ultimately they're going to be better with having Kyrie in there, where those three are the top three options, and then Joe Harris kind of that fourth guy?
Well, to be honest, I'm not going to go ahead and say, you got three superstars on the court. Obviously, you're better off with that. But from a team perspective, it was a little bit more cohesive, a little bit more easier, because the type of sets they were running, there's a lot more off-ball screens, a lot less standing around. I said, I don't like to nitpick with one game, but there was a lot of meandering around the three-point line. So it's it made it easy for Cleveland to just sit back in the zone and defend them. because they knew that okay, these guys are it's 3 against 5, and we know Joe Harris not gonna kill us off the dribble. We know what DeAndre Jordan does, so it's like it's pretty much easy to guard. And there's a lot of settling, especially they went through droughts in the first quarter. They were settling for the shots, the 3-point shot too much. I believe they should get to the basket. Don't bail these defenses out. Get to the basket. You got guys who, are very difficult to guard. Nobody can cover these guys one-on-one. James Harden, Kevin Durant, Kyrie, we all know who they are. These guys can give you 30 any night. So it's like, don't bail the defense out. Like, make it easy, because if you're not getting to the basket, it's so much harder for Joe Harris to get open, clean looks. And we know what his percentages is when he has open, clean looks. He's gonna knock it down. Knock down. So it's like, just make it easy on the other guys who can't create for themselves as well as you guys can.
Yeah, I mean, because when I look at like when it was Harden, before Kyrie came, when it was Harden, Joe Harris, and KD, I'm not saying it's the same exact thing, but it kind of reminded me of the Warriors in the fact of when they had KD, you make Harden kind of like in a Steph Curry position, and then Joe Harris is like Clay, since they both just run around and catch and shoot, and they both can knock the hell out of most of the shots that they take, it seems like. And it just seemed like there was a lot more fluidity there. But at the same time, both teams with Kyrie and without Kyrie, it was like a real small sample size. So, I mean, they have plenty of time to figure it out. But I remember even last night, Tim Legler was talking on, Sports Center, and he was saying, a lot of Harden's possessions, especially later in the game, were like isolation stuff like he did in Houston. And that was what he noticed about the offense. But for me, it's like the biggest thing they need to fix and figure out is figuring out a method on defense to get it done and go after, another center and like a defensive wing or something to figure that out. Like, their offense isn't that much of a problem to me, because they're going to get it done.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we know that they're top 5 in almost every category from an offensive, standpoint. And this is, without games without Kyrie, games without Harden. So we know they can get it done, either or. But the defensive end, I just feel like there needs to be more communication from a team's perspective. Like, you got to know when to switch, when not to switch. So it's like, for example, if you got a guy on the court, let's say they were guarding Taurean Prince, and let's say you got Taurean Prince and Jared Allen. Let's say, for example, I'm just using that example. You could switch off those guys. They're not gonna kill you off the dribble. But if you have like a point guard, a situation where you're trying to switch off KD, Kyrie, it just is always gonna be a mismatch. So it's like they gotta kind of play that. All right, know when to switch, know how to cover. Like, let's say now a guy gets is getting over the screen. The big has to know. All right, I need to help him recover. So you get in position where you're in front of the opposing player that has the ball in his hand until your guy can get off the screen and he can recover and get back on his guy. Little things like that. You want to make sure that that communication is tight, and that you just positionally you know how to play defense. You're playing with your feet, not with your hands. Yeah, and with these group of guys, like, obviously when you have a team that's that talented like that, there's certain things that you got to do. Like, they all got to sacrifice, they all got to be selfless. They got to communicate, and it'll be curious. I'm curious to see what the outcome is going to be as far as sacrificing goes, because obviously we know for the team, the first primary scorer, first option scorer for the team is obviously KD, and then from there on out, it's like, what does Kyrie look at his role? Does Kyrie look at his role like when he was being a Robin to LeBron?
and where it's just like LeBron's a facilitator and Kyrie, you just go out there, just be, scoring. That's all you worry about.
Not to cut you off. So in saying that, who do you believe is gonna be the one to make the biggest sacrifice? Because it's got to be one of them. Who do you believe is that guy?
The biggest adjustment has to be made definitely by James Harden. James Harden is the one that's coming from a team where he was, doing most of the stuff, and he was operating the most. Who was, taking most of the offensive possessions and having a lot of isolation plays, and being the focal point of the team, taking the most shots and everything. So like compared to KD, who was on stacked Warriors team, or even Kyrie, who was on a pretty well balanced team with Boston. And I think, especially since he's a new guy coming in Harden, I think he's coming and just say like, hey, I'm here to assist you guys and help winning, help you guys win, or help us all win together. And it's pretty apparent. You can see in the last 3 games he's getting double-digit assists, playing on a more talented team. So I think he's going to take a step back.
Yeah, I agree with that point, because and another thing too that to bring up is 2 players out of the 3 players, 2 of them have won championships. Whether you agree with how it's done or not, in KD's situation, him joining that 73 win team, he still was, a big part of them winning.
Right.
Kyrie Irving, if he doesn't hit that shot, or if he's not the player he is in that finals game, they don't win it.
Right.
James Harden, when he's been the best player, his play has never been proven to be conducive at the highest level. So he has to really find a way to play, to be him, but playing winning basketball. How's it gonna make everybody on the team better? You can't just be making Kyrie and KD better. You gotta make everyone better. Whether
right.
That's you playing off the ball. I believe that, people don't say this much, but him, he's a good off-ball player. He plays,
right.
If focused, he can play off the ball. He can hit spot up shots. But, I think now he's more focused than ever, because I think too, another thing, he respects Kyrie and KD a lot more than, some of the guys he's played with in the past. And it's a total different situation. He's being traded to a team. He's now a piece, not the centerpiece of a
right.
team. So it make a huge difference.
I definitely agree with that, because a lot of people will criticize Harden when he was in Houston, but it's like I heard Shaq criticizing Harden, oh, you didn't put your all into Houston because you never won anything there. And he's like, they gave you Dwight Howard, they gave you Chris Paul, they gave you Westbrook. It's like, well, when they gave Dwight Howard, first off, Dwight Howard wasn't the same. He wasn't the same like he was, on the Magic, where he was the focal point of that team. And he's getting injured like crazy. And, and then when Chris Paul was there, if Chris Paul doesn't get hurt in, what was that, the 2018 playoffs?
Mm-hmm.
If Chris Paul doesn't get hurt, they were up 3-2 against that KD-led Warriors team. They would have won. I think they would have won that series and went on to the finals and won the finals. And then with Russ, it didn't work out. But, a lot of Harden's play, I don't really put the blame on him. It's more of what Daryl Morey, and to a certain extent, too, of what D'Antoni came up with, of having him do all these isolation plays. And then they surround him with, a lot of guys that can shoot and can play defense, but surrounded by a lot of guys who can't create. Chris Paul and Russell Westbrook, they could create, but outside of that, Ben McLemore, PJ Tucker, Trevor Ariza,
I have to cut
these
you
guys
off.
don't do anything off the dribble.
This is the thing. I agree in the sense that he didn't have, per se the talent, off the dribble, or plays that he could rely on to make plays. But you gotta understand, he's the best player. He's their franchise player. He's the superstar of that city and that team. He signs off on trades. He signs off on moves. They're not gonna make moves without him. That's why he felt so. He felt left out when Daryl Morey, left and Tony left. That was his team. That was, his situation because he knew he had say, he controlled part of the narrative. So he definitely signed off on that. And to me, is my criticism of him is his indifference to make a adjustment or make certain changes when he's playing with some of these guys that's conducive to winning. He's always somebody who, it just seemed like he was playing for himself. He just wanted to do it his way. So but now he's made, with this team, and even earlier this year he made some, adjustments to his game, but he's made the proper adjustment. He understands his place. He understands his role a little bit more clearer.
Yeah, and I just think he also, he also sees the talent, more of the talent that he's surrounded by. Like, you can see he's having more trust in guys. He's willing to give up the ball quicker to Joe Harris or whoever it is and not hold on to it as long. I feel like in Houston, he wasn't as trusting. I mean, he was trusting with Chris Paul and like Westbrook and stuff, but in like Eric Gordon, then again, like Eric Gordon was injured, quite a bit of the time. And then a lot of the other guys is like, you can only trust these guys if they're wide open on the perimeter for a shot. But then, I see what you mean, saying he signed off on this stuff. But I don't know. But he's in a new situation now. He's playing with two other stars. And I think if they can get it together, especially defensively, then I don't see them being stopped by anybody in the East, at least for that matter. I feel like their biggest challenge is honestly Milwaukee, probably, but
I don't know, man. It's just they don't have a real consistent threat in the East, honestly. There's nobody stepping on the neck of the East and saying this is mine. Like it seemed like it's up for grabs. It just seemed like there's a lot of teams with talent. Is Philly gonna figure it out? Philly right now, they're the top defensive team, but it just seemed like we're singing the same old song with Ben Simmons, and he's a major in there. You gotta be able to shoot the ball and be willing to shoot the ball. So, that's left to be seen. That whole topic, I'll probably leave that for another time. But
even Miami Heat reeling right now, but
they disappoint me big time.
I don't know.
But Nets, they got to pick it up, man. They're 22nd in the league in points allowed. 24th in the league in field goals allowed. Like, they got to shore that up. Guys are scoring too many points against them. The objective of the game is for you to score as many points and not allow as many points being scored on you. So.
Yeah, and just as far as defensively, even just, you got to get in your bag sometimes to figure things out. Granted, you have two people on staff and Steve Nash and D'Antoni who are more offensive-minded, very offensive-minded people. But, defensively, you got to be innovative. Think about different things, act like a Nick Nurse, use different schemes and, just being able to, when you be creative offensively and defensively and not just do the same thing or have the same lineups for every single game. Look at who your opponent is, what their weaknesses are, and expose them by being creative and doing different things. So, hopefully they can figure that out, especially on the defensive end, and kind of go from there, and then they'll probably start smacking a lot more teams.
Yeah, but even going back to what you said, they got Mike D'Antoni, Steve Nash, but they got Ime Udoka. He's known for being that defensive guy. He's had a lot of his imprint on a lot of teams. So I don't understand. To me, it's kind of confusing. But then again, it's quite an adjustment. You trying to figure out the best lineups, the best matches. How to play these players. And stuff like that. And I think they could rebound a little bit better too. That's something that hasn't been spoken about, because when you give teams second opportunities, second chances, it just basically takes all the air out of all the effort you put on defense.
Yeah. No, I agree with that.
So my final take. So for me, this is my final question for you. So are you willing to take the gamble and say this team is going to the finals? Like, this team going to win a championship? What is your overall prediction for this team, for the Brooklyn Nets?
My overall prediction for this team is, I think the Nets are going to the finals. As far as winning the championship, I'm not gonna say that's for sure because they got some real monsters in the Western Conference. But I think even with the team right now, I think they're going to the finals. And if they need to get some defensive wings if they got to the finals, and you're gonna be playing against, Clippers or the Lakers or the Jazz. You'd have to figure it out on that end of the floor because all three of those teams are pretty solid defensively. But it was real imperative, for them to be able to get James Harden because, you look at the first two games that Harden played in against the Magic and then against Milwaukee. And, with Kyrie not being there, if Harden's not there, they're losing both of those games, and they're probably going to lose those games pretty comfortably. So it was really imperative for them to have a third star because going into the playoffs, you never know what's going to happen. Like Kyrie could get hurt.
Yeah.
KD's coming off of, a very bad injury, even though KD looks almost like better than ever. But, you get that insurance because we all know, especially as far as superstars go, but just players overall, Harden is one of the most durable people in the league. Even when he gets hurt, it's like, okay, I tweaked my ankle, but whatever, I'm gonna keep playing.
Yeah.
Like he's not somebody who's sitting out for a month or several weeks. But yeah, that's how I feel. What's your take with the Nets? What do you think of them right now? Do you think they're gonna make it or get knocked out? Or
I think they could make the finals, but I don't know if I see them beating the Lakers yet. Because for one, the way they're playing defense, Anthony Davis is gonna kill them. So Anthony Davis is gonna have a field day, and I don't think they can guard. I don't know right now. I don't think they could guard well enough to ensure that they could seal that win. They could seal the championship. Really, at the end of the day, defense, and rebounding, and making the proper adjustments. So I mean, Nash, Steve Nash has a big task in his hands, but you take it game by game. We don't know. This is the beginning of the season. So, within time, we'll see. Once mid-season come about, 3/4 of the season, the end of the season, what does this team look like?
Mm-hmm. And even being able to I noticed even from last season, which it may be a little bit different this season, especially with having Dennis Schroeder there instead of Rondo, because Dennis can shoot. Like last season, the Raptors really had the Lakers number, and that was because of the different types of defenses that they threw at them. They threw at several different defenses, whether it was a 1-3-1, 3-2, 2-3, man-to-man, whatever it was. And I think that's something, especially that if they were to get to the finals and play against a team like Lakers, that they could do. Because when they did a 1-3-1, Raptors a lot of times would end up doubling, AD on the short corner and forcing him to take a tough shot or making all kinds of cross-court passes. And their offense just looked really, really chaotic. So I think that's why I'm saying the Nets need to be creative with defense. Mm-hmm. Not just doing one thing the whole game, but mix and matching. You gotta act like the one who's in control when you're playing against the offense, and do something like that moving forward against whoever the opposition is.
Yeah, it's true. I believe they'll figure it out.
Yeah, man.
Well, that's it for today's video, guys. Thank you for tuning in. If you're new, please like, subscribe. Let us know what you think. Give us your feedback on either how we can make this thing better, or what are some episodes or topics that you want us to discuss, or how do you feel about the current topic that we discussed? What is your take on it? Who you believe is the team to make it to the finals? Who you believe is the team to win the championship? What are your bold takes? And for you guys who've been with us for some time, I know we've been gone for a while, but we're definitely here to bring back some goodies. We're here to stay. We got some good stuff for you. You know, whether it be player breakdown, coaching adjustment, player adjustment, team adjustments, and just speaking on, you know, different things that go on in NBA. I know stuff that you NBA fans would definitely enjoy.
Definitely, just being consistent.
Yeah, so stay tuned, guys. Peace.
Deuces.